I hope you enjoy today's story. The early morning light streaming through the tent and the cheerful singing of mountain birds stirred me awake. I could hear the chipmunks scurrying around the campsite, eagerly cleaning up the crumbs left behind from my camp dinner. The pure joy I felt being out in nature after so many years was fleeting. It quickly slipped away as the weight of today's reality settled on me. At 6,000 feet above sea level, the air was crisp and refreshing. When I stepped out of the tent, I was immediately surrounded by the breathtaking sight of an alpine lake, cradled by snow-dusted peaks. I longed to dive deeper into nature, to let its serenity wash away the burdens crowding my mind. I wanted to fish and free myself even for a little while. But I couldn't ignore what day it was. The day I had dreaded all month. It was the day of confrontation, the moment I needed to face head-on to finally start anew. For breakfast, I cooked some eggs and sausage on my propane stove and poured myself a strong cup of thick, black coffee. Sitting there, finishing my meal and gearing up for the 6-mile hike ahead, I took a moment to savor how peaceful and wonderful that slice of time was. I reminded myself that life can still be beautiful and joyful if you just keep moving forward. I knew this wouldn't be my last trip. I'd return to camping, hiking, fishing, and sailing. The hobbies I'd neglected during my 23 years of marriage to the woman I once believed was the love of my life. Well, I'll say this. She was the love of my life. Or at least that's what I thought back then. Despite everything, I'm an optimist. I hold on to the hope that someday someone else might come along. The hike down the trail was calm and uneventful. I didn't cross paths with anyone until I reached the parking lot where I'd left my car. I packed up my gear, settled into the driver's seat, and headed toward the main highway. After 3 days off the grid, I turned my phone back on, bracing myself for the onslaught of messages and emails waiting for me. The moment I hit an area with cell service, my phone chimed with the first notification. I glanced down. It was a message from my 21-year-old son, Ryan. Ryan and I were more than just father and son. We were best friends, having weathered his turbulent teenage years together. We came out of that storm with mutual respect and an unshakable bond. His message was brief but filled with meaning. Dad, I love you and support you. Good luck today and stay positive. Somewhere, someday, there will be light at the end of this tunnel. His words of encouragement brought tears to my eyes and fortified my resolve to do what needed to be done. The next message I opened was from my daughter, Krista. Hers, too, was a beacon of love and support. Dad, I wish I could be there to hug you and tell you everything will be okay. You're the best father we could ever hope for, and you've always put us first. Now, you need to put yourself first. Whatever happens, remember that Ryan and I love you and will always stand by you. Krista had always been a daddy's girl. Though she was the spitting image of my wife, Linda, in her younger years, Krista had my adventurous spirit, my love of the outdoors, and my ridiculous sense of humor. The very qualities Linda never seemed to possess. At least I had been blessed with incredible children who respected and loved me. They would always be my proudest legacy, no matter where this journey of mine led. I took a moment to catch my breath and sift through the mountain of messages, emails, and missed calls I'd accumulated over the past 3 days. There were 10 missed calls from my wife. The first 7 seemed to have been made during her 3-day seminar in Vegas, ostensibly a work trip, and the last 3 after her return home, including one that morning. I could easily imagine how furious she must have been when I wasn't at the airport to pick her up and how frustrated she felt when I ignored her calls and messages. I didn't bother listening to the voicemails. I deleted them all without a second thought and moved on to her text messages. Linda had messaged me about 20 times over the past few days. I hadn't responded to any of them. The first few messages were filled with declarations of love that reeked of guilt. The later ones, though, were laced with venom. Angry demands, indignation over my silence, and fury over being stranded at the airport for more than an hour before she realized I wasn't coming. Her last message read, in all caps, WTF, Jack. It was impossible to ignore how much our relationship had changed over the last few months. I doubted she even noticed the fading spark in me. The love I once had for her slowly dimming. How had she become so distant, so disconnected? Did she really not see the pain in my eyes? Could she have forgotten so easily about our children, our family, and the love we once shared? That thought was perhaps the hardest of all. More devastating than the affair itself was the woman behind it. At 44, Linda was stunning. Her curves were captivating, her legs long and slender, and her figure bold and confident. She knew how to carry herself, whether she was charming people at social events or presenting herself as an ambitious up-and-comer in the banking world at Commerce Bank USA. I'd always felt proud to be seen with her, enjoying the envious looks from other men who barely hid their desire. Watching them avert their gazes in defeat gave me a surge of pride and boosted my ego. She was mine, and our connection felt unbreakable. I used to remind her how beautiful and desirable she was, but she'd brush it off, claiming she was aging and didn't feel as young or alluring as she once had. I could see it bothered her, and I'd try to reassure her, telling her that her light was only growing stronger, not fading. But she'd shake her head and say, "You're just saying that because you're my husband, and you love me." Then there was John Monroe, her younger boss, who somehow became the new light in her life, at least in a physical sense. I had clearly become nothing more than a dependable best friend in her eyes, though for me, even our friendship had eroded. But Linda never seemed to notice. John Monroe was the quintessential corporate golden boy, tall, lean, and so full of confidence that he was insufferable. I'd met him a few times, and he grated on my nerves. Yet, Linda saw him as the embodiment of leadership, her words, not mine. She used to tell me about his so-called brilliance until, 4 months ago, she abruptly stopped mentioning him at all. Looking back, that's when the affair must have begun, the beginning of the end of our 23-year marriage. I shook myself out of my grim thoughts, glanced at my phone again, and with a frustrated growl, deleted all her messages before continuing to sift through my emails. My lawyer had sent a confirmation that everything was set to move forward according to our agreement. I also noticed a private message waiting for me. When I opened it, I read something cryptic. "The person you were asking about got into serious trouble during a robbery." As soon as I closed the chat, the entire thread disappeared automatically. Next, I opened an email confirming that my resignation had been processed. My 401k and stock options had already been liquidated, with the proceeds transferred to my new account. Financially, I'd be fine for the next few years, though the taxes would sting. But honestly, I didn't care. I needed out. Just as I was about to pull onto the road, my phone started ringing. Linda's name flashed on the screen. I figured there was no better time to deal with it than now. Felt like ripping off a Band-Aid, the quicker, the better. I shifted into park, turned off the engine, and answered as neutrally as I could. "Hey Linda, what's up?" "What's up?" she shot back, her voice sharp. "Where are you? You didn't pick me up from the airport, you weren't home last night, and you didn't leave so much as a note. You've been ignoring my calls and messages for days. What the hell, Jack? What's going on?" I took a steadying breath. "Linda, I figured you wouldn't care whether I responded or not, or whether I was home or not. I thought you'd be glad I wasn't around. It would give you time to get yourself together and slip back into character before facing me. The kids, our friends, or your parents. Isn't that how your double life works?" There was a pause, then a burst of incredulous outrage. "What? Why are you saying this, Jack? I don't understand what you're talking about. Double life? You know I have to travel for work. And by the way, why haven't the kids answered my calls? And where is our king-size mattress? I had to sleep in the guest room last night. Jack, what the hell is happening? Where are you, and why did you abandon me at the airport? I feel like I'm in the twilight zone." I let out a dry laugh. "Linda, you are in the twilight zone. It's the one you drove yourself, and our whole family, into." Her anger wavered. I could hear the uncertainty creeping into her voice as her bravado cracked. What does that mean, Jack? Where are you? What's happening? It doesn't matter where I am or where I'm headed. I'm not in town, that's all you need to know. I was busy last week. Too busy to answer your calls or messages. I've been trying to figure out how to walk away from the biggest betrayal of my life and start over." There was a long silence before she spoke again. Her voice trembled. "Betrayal? Jack, what are you talking about? Are you drunk?" "No, Linda. I'm sober. Why don't you tell me how your 3-day banking seminar went? Was John with you every night and morning? Or did you pace yourself and keep it to just the 3 nights? I heard her sharp intake of breath, followed by silence. Took her a few seconds to find her voice. What the hell are you saying, Jack? Why would you say something like that? I'm married to you. Yes, Linda, you're married to me. And I'm amazed you still consider this mess of ours a marriage. After 23 years, the least you could do is show me the respect of telling the truth. I know you've thrown honesty and loyalty out the window for months now, but how about a little honesty for once? Her voice grew quieter, barely above a whisper. Jack, I don't know what you think is happening, but you're wrong. I only love you. There's nothing going on between me and John Monroe. I let out a bitter laugh. Well, at least you've admitted you know exactly which John I'm talking about. For a second, I wondered if there was more than one. I took a deep breath, my frustration mounting. Tell me the truth, Linda. Did you? Did you really think you'd never get caught? Or did you just not care? Why didn't you have the courage to tell me you wanted a divorce? That you loved someone else? It would have been so much easier for everyone if you'd just been honest instead of sneaking around behind our backs and feeding us lies. Linda broke down on the other end of the line. I could hear her sobbing. Don't say the word divorce. Please believe me, Jack. I love you. You're the only one I've ever loved. Please come home so we can talk about this. Nothing happened. How could you even think that? It was obvious she still believed I had no proof, that I was bluffing. She thought she could keep up the charade. So you're saying you never slept with Monroe in our bedroom? On our now-missing king-size mattress? I asked, my voice sharp. No, of course not, she cried. What are you even talking about? Hold on, Linda. With that, I pulled up a photo on my phone, the one where John Monroe was behind her, and she looked completely lost in the moment. Judging by his strained expression, he was putting everything he had into it. It was just one of many photos and videos I'd received from the hidden camera, the one inside the clock on the dresser that I'd discreetly installed after a tip-off about her affair. I sent the photo to Linda and switched back to the call. Take a look at the picture I just sent. Are you seriously telling me that's not you? That's not my loving wife in our bedroom, on our bed, having unprotected sex with her boss. I heard the dull thud of the phone dropping, followed by a piercing scream of anguish. Oh God, no. Jack, please. It was a mistake. It only happened once. It meant nothing. It was just a stupid thrill. Someone younger who made me feel attractive and alive again. It wasn't meant to hurt you. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Please, Jack. I'm so sorry. Her voice cracked as she choked on her words. But, Linda. My tone was ice cold. Look out the window. See that pile of charred wood, metal, and ash in the middle of the backyard? That was our king-size mattress. I burned it. It's a symbol of how you burned our marriage to the ground. You betrayed me. You betrayed our family. You humiliated me. When did you start hating me enough to cause this kind of pain? When did you decide you didn't care about my love? Or the love of your children? When did you decide I didn't deserve even an ounce of respect or honesty? When, Linda? Why? Please, Jack. Please forgive me. She sobbed. I love you. I've never stopped loving you. I could never hate you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. It was a horrible mistake. It happened only once. I was selfish. It wasn't about you. I let out a bitter sigh. Linda, the kids and I are done with the lies and the deceit. Can you finally be honest for once? Her voice grew defensive. Is that why the kids aren't answering my calls? Jack, did you tell them? Did you turn them against me? How dare you? I didn't have to turn them against you, Linda. You did that all on your own, with your selfishness, your lies, and your need for someone else. You pushed us all away. And no, I didn't tell them. They told me. They figured it out before I did. I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. Pathetic, isn't it? You didn't just cheat on me, you abandoned us all. And don't insult me by claiming it was just one time. I know this has been going on for at least 4 months. You emotionally cut yourself off from us long before I found out what was really happening. You disgust me, Linda. You stopped talking to us, stopped looking at me, stopped making love to me, except for the occasional pity sex that made me feel even worse. Her voice broke again. It meant nothing. It was just sex. One moment of weakness. After 23 years, Jack, I still choose you, not him. Please believe me. I clenched my jaw, my patience wearing thin. Hold on. I pulled up another photo on my phone, the one Ryan had taken. He had come home unexpectedly to grab some tools and had heard them in the master bedroom. He quietly approached the half-open door, pulled out his phone, and captured everything. Photos and videos. He hadn't told me for 2 weeks. He and Krista had wrestled with the decision but ultimately agreed that I deserved to know. The night they told me, we'd cried together, physically sick over the betrayal of the woman we all trusted. I sent that picture to Linda and returned to the call. Look at your phone again, Linda. This was the first time any of us found out about you and Monroe. But judging by how you emotionally checked out of our lives 3 months before Ryan took this picture, I'd say you two had been lovers for quite a while. She didn't say anything, so I continued. It was Ryan who discovered you first, Linda. Your own son. He saw everything. He took pictures. Do you have any idea what that did to him? Do you know how it felt for him to see his mother like that? What do you think he felt, Linda? You didn't just lose my respect. You lost his too. And Krista's. When they saw those pictures and agonized over whether or not to tell me, do you have any idea how broken they felt? Do you really think there's any trust or respect left for you now? Do you have any idea how painful it was for our kids to tell me you were a cheater? How hard it was to hear them sobbing as they watched the person they admired tear apart our family and destroy our marriage. Just stop lying. Stop pretending it only happened once. We both know this has been going on for months. And don't insult me by denying that you slept with him 6 or 7 times during this last so-called business trip. I took a slow breath, steadying myself. I'm hanging up if you lie to me again. No, Jack. Please. Let me explain. I could hear Linda's sobbing intensify, and I imagined her crumpling onto the floor as the full weight of her betrayal sank in. She sounded shattered, as though she was only now realizing just how much her lies had destroyed. Oh God, Jack. I'm so sorry. Please. You have to forgive me. I lost my mind, but it's over now. It was cheap, meaningless, sleazy sex. I just felt so alive, so wanted, being desired like that. Being part of something forbidden. Her words were tumbling out between sobs. But there was never any love. I didn't want to hurt you. I swear I didn't. I don't even know how I became this person who pulled away from you and the kids without realizing it. I'm waking up now, finally seeing myself for what I've become. And I hate who I am. Jack, please, I love you. I love our life together. Please come home. Let me make it right. I need to fix this. I need to make us a family again. Her words felt hollow. Linda, there is no us anymore. We're done. You can't claim to love me after you've caused this kind of pain and devastation. You've proven you don't respect me or care about anyone but yourself. Your lies and betrayal have shattered any trust one had. Everything between us is stained now, tainted. Have you been with him for years? Or was it just the last 4 months? How many other men have there been? I let that hang for a second before continuing, my voice hard. Do I need to do a DNA test on my children? I didn't give her time to answer. Actually, don't bother. I wouldn't believe a word you say. I clenched the steering wheel, fury burning in my chest. And of course, I'll need to get tested for STDs. My voice dropped, cold and final. There's nothing left between us, Linda. Nothing. You've hurt me more than anyone else ever could. I built my life around you, and you threw me away like garbage. But you know what? You succeeded. You did exactly that. Linda's voice cracked. Please, Jack. Don't say that. I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll let you sleep with other women if that's what it takes. Just please don't leave me. Her sobbing was uncontrollable now. I lived with the guilt every day. I wanted to stop, but I always came back to you. It was just a meaningless fling. Please? Oh God. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes for a moment before responding. emotion drained from my voice. Save your breath. I don't believe you anymore, and honestly, I don't care. Listen carefully, Linda. On Monday, you'll be served with divorce papers at the bank. Her breath caught. No, Jack. Please, don't divorce me, she begged, her voice barely coherent through her tears. I pushed forward, unmoved. Linda, your boss's wife has already received copies of the photos and videos of your little affair, the ones where you're with him in our bedroom. So it looks like you and John Monroe will be stuck with each other once both his wife and I leave you. She gasped in horror. Jack, please tell me you didn't do that. He has a wife and kids. Why would you ruin their lives like that? I let out a bitter laugh. Wow, Linda, you really don't get it. I'm not the one who destroyed their family. You and John Monroe did that. Your cheap, reckless affair didn't just destroy my life. It shattered yours, our kids' lives, his wife's life, and their children's lives. 8 people, Linda. You helped tear apart 8 lives. You should be proud you played your part perfectly. But knowing you probably don't even care. Her sobs became louder, raw, and unrestrained. I could hear her grief bleeding through the line, but I wasn't finished. Oh, and in case you're wondering, John won't be much help to you right now. He'll be dealing with a civil lawsuit for alienation of affection. I paused, the faintest hint of a sardonic smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. Then again, I'm not sure when he'll be up for that. Apparently he had some unfortunate luck. A friend told me he was mugged in the airport parking lot and ended up in the hospital. Serious injuries. So I guess it'll be a while before he's fit enough to offer you his magic touch again. Linda's voice rose in panic. Stop, Jack. Stop being so cruel. I don't care about him. I never did. I only want you. Please, Jack. Don't do this to us. I let out a slow breath. Linda, there is no us. That's over. The silence stretched between us for a few seconds before I continued, voice steady and firm. And one more thing, it's hard to say if either of you will still have jobs after next week. I've sent those photos and videos to the president and board members of Commerce Bank USA, along with a formal lawsuit for alienation of affection and workplace harassment. If they want to settle, I'll make it clear you can keep your job. But I'll insist they fire Monroe for cause. Linda's breath came in shallow gasps. No, Jack. Do you really hate me that much? I sighed, the sadness creeping back into my voice. Linda, the hatred was all on your end. You betrayed me, lied to me, disrespected me. You took the love I had for you, the love I built my life around, and ripped it out of my soul. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to regain my self-respect. I need to rebuild what's left of my life before we go our separate ways. Linda was crying so hard now, I wasn't sure she could even hear me. Her sobs turned into desperate, broken noises that no longer sounded like words. I felt empty as I listened, holding back my own emotions and my anger churned inside me. But beneath it, I felt an ache of pain and regret for putting her through this. The truth was, despite all the hatred and betrayal, I still loved her. It was a disturbing and agonizing mix of emotions that tore at my soul. But beneath it all, my resolve remained firm. I wanted her to feel the depth of the pain she'd caused me. I needed her to understand just how deeply she had wounded me. Linda, we're almost done. Try to focus on these last few things. I took a steady breath before continuing. I've taken $125,000 from our savings. I used $25,000 to cover Krista's next 2 years of college. I'll help her with more in the future, but for now, that's all I can afford. The rest will go towards starting over. I'm leaving you the house. I've signed the deed over to your name. The equity in it is around $100,000 if you decide to sell it. Her voice was desperate and raw. I won't sell the house, Jack, and I want you to stop this madness. Just come home so we can heal. Please, for the sake of the 23 years we had before I lost my way. I ignored her plea and pressed on. If you sign the divorce papers, the house and everything in it are yours. I'll take the $100,000 left from our savings, and we'll be done. If you fight the divorce, it won't change anything. I won't be around to argue. Do whatever you want. I won't care. She let out a small, broken whimper, but I didn't stop. We're almost finished, Linda. There are just a few more things I need to tell you. If you look around, you'll see that I've already moved out. I took the things I wanted, everything else is yours. I left the wedding albums for you. Keep them, burn them, do whatever you want with them. I don't care. I paused, letting the weight of my next words sink in. I left my wedding ring on the dresser. You can melt it down, throw it in the trash, or flush it like you flushed our marriage down the drain. Her sobbing grew louder, but I pushed through. Ryan will be coming by to pick up some of my fishing and hunting gear. He'll come when you're not there, he doesn't want to see you. Krista will come to get her things, too. She has no intention of ever living there again. She'll also come when you're gone. So don't be surprised when you find her room empty. Her crying was almost unbearable now, raw and frantic. But I wasn't finished. The last thing you should know, Linda, I sent the photos of you and Monroe to your parents, my parents, and everyone in both of our email contact lists. So you might want to think carefully about the story you'll tell them. I won't let myself be painted as the bad guy in this disaster of a marriage. Linda's sobs turned into a wail of pure devastation. Her screams so intense I feared she might collapse or have a breakdown. Linda, I said firmly, though my voice had softened just a fraction. There's one more thing. Last week I quit my job. I'm leaving the state, heading into the unknown. I hope I can find someone in the future who loves me enough to honor the promises we make to each other. Someone who respects me, treats me as an equal, and gives me the trust and love I deserve. And I hope you can find whatever it was you were missing that made you throw it all away. I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of finality in my words. Please don't try to find me. If you need to reach me for any reason, you can send a message through Ryan or my lawyer. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm gone from your life and you're gone from mine. Goodbye, Linda. The sound of her scream was heart-wrenching. Jack. No, please. Don't. Please forgive me. Her cries were desperate and unrelenting. But I ended the call. The moment the line disconnected, a painful sob burst from my chest. I sat there, shaking with anguish as I cried harder than I had in years. The realization hit me like a freight train. I'd gone too far. My need for revenge had consumed me, and it would take a long time to forgive myself for the cruelty I'd shown her. But forgiving her? That felt impossible. The road ahead of me was going to be long and torturous before I could heal, before I could open my heart again. But one thing was certain. I didn't want my life to be defined by bitterness. I refused to let the betrayal poison what remained of my future. I thought back to that morning at the mountain summit, the sunlight filtering through the pines, the birds singing their songs, the alpine lake reflecting the sky like a mirror. There was still beauty in the world. There would still be moments of magic in my life. I just had to stay open to them and keep moving forward toward a new beginning.